Yeah, so once the reserve's reached then, what the vendor will do, he'll usually go inside the house, have a quick chat to the vendor and say, look, we're up to X amount of dollars, and then he'll come back out and announce to everyone, okay, the property is for sale, it's definitely selling today, it won't be passed in. So for some people, that's when they'll start to bid because they know they can actually buy, and they're not interested before that point. So you can actually see a very slow auction suddenly get quite heated quickly at that point. Okay, 10% deposit, or is it? When you purchase at an auction, they say that you have to have a 10% deposit on the day, so a cheque, to purchase the place. But as a matter of fact, you can negotiate before the auction. Like, I recommend at least a couple of days before. You can do it on the day, but you want to get things sorted out. You can say to the agent, look, I don't have my deposit ready, is 5% okay? So as long as you stipulate that before the auction starts and the agent agrees, you can have your own little contract that if you are the successful buyer, you do not have to have that 10%. So, because a lot of people would like to buy at auction, it hits that 10%, go, I can't afford it anymore. Whereas if they had gone to the agent beforehand, they've still left themselves plenty of room. So even if you're a serious buyer, and even if you're not going to bid up to that amount, it's probably good just to have that extra little option in there for yourself. And the auctioneer will announce that before he starts. He'll say, unless you've come to me prior, it's 10%. And know your limit. Don't get too emotional at an auction, because a lot of people, that's when first home buyers, I believe, go wrong. Another example, a place near me recently sold. There was a first home buyer, and she'd been looking for probably 3 months and gone to lots of auctions, and she was just frustrated and wanted to buy in, and ended up paying probably $10,000 more than the house was worth. So there's always another opportunity around the corner. So don't necessarily jump in too early, because again, at the end of this presentation, I'll go through what these extra numbers mean and how to look at money differently, and you'll find that paying an extra $5,000 is actually paying a lot more than that. Like I said, know your limit. And just attend some auctions for experience. Okay, stamp duty. I won't talk much about this, but just so you're aware that it's obviously a very large expense once you buy your first home, or any home. So it's a tax on purchasing a property. It varies from state to state. Unfortunately, living in Victoria here, I'll use my $300,000 house again. It'll cost you about $13,660, whereas if you bought a property for the same amount in the Northern Territory, it'd probably cost you $6,200. So, and each state varies. I know Sydney at the moment, a first home buyer in Sydney, they give them exemptions on tax, on stamp duty. So it really varies state to state, but again, up on the website there'll be a good explanation on different types. And it also varies depending on the type of property. You'll often hear developers trying to sell properties off the plan and saving stamp duty. So if you buy a property before it's built, it's much less of a cost. So that could be one strategy, that if you're looking to buy a new home, of buying it before it is actually built, so you can save some money up front there. And establish homes where you'll pay the most stamp duty. First home buyers grant. Neil obviously touched on the two most important parts of the first home buyers grant. I'm not going to go through it other than to say this screenshot's taken directly off the website, which is firsthome.gov.au. And basically, if you just run through these 7 questions, you'll be able to determine if you're eligible. So I can tell you, if you get a yes in every box, I think it is that you'll be right. The only one that varies from state to state would probably be question 6, where it says you have to live in your house for at least 6 months in Victoria, whereas other states it's less, and others might even be more. But that's sort of changed. So within this site, you can go off to your different states to get the right rules. I'll touch on one thing that can be a bit confusing with the properties and first home buyers grants. If you were to buy your first property now and use it purely as an investment, and then to buy a second property and then to use that one as your principal place of residence, you're allowed to live in the second one and claim the first home buyers on that. You could actually probably buy 20 properties, and until you buy the one that's your principal place of residence and claim the first home buyers grant, that's when you can do it. Because that's one thing I know people get confused about. But the other thing with the first home buyers grant is you can use it as a strategy to get into the market which was touched on before as well, where you can use that $10,000, live in it for 6 months, maybe do it up a bit, and then start renting it out. So it's definitely, while it's available, it probably always will be available in some form, but they do review it yearly, so it might be gone in 6 months' time, a year. So while it's there, it's just something to be aware of, and there's that website for you.